So thank you all. So I am offering my first State of the City, akin to what the county, the state, and the U.S. do each year, and what prior mayors have done. I saw Claire Lou Gould recently, and it reminded me, oh yeah, we could do this. So given that it is my first report, it will be a little longer, and will extend to include some items across my first 3 years as mayor. As we all experienced together, COVID hit less than 3 months into my tenure as mayor. It changed everyone's lives and focus, and with losses for many in different ways. As mayor, I had to shift from working on issues like weekend traffic on Main Street to providing regular broadcasts on COVID counts and precautions, keeping City Hall and city services operating safely, avoiding a total Main Street shutdown, and urging everyone to do their part and stick together. We also experienced a national desire to improve policing and civil rights, which challenged us all to take a long, hard look at ensuring fairness and compassion in policing while keeping us all safe. During these difficult times, everyone did their part. We stuck together. As a community, we have largely come through these trials better, not without loss or sacrifice, and not without government help, but also with accomplishing long-term improvements in how we live and work, how we treat one another, and how we ensure that no one is left behind. So on to the state of the city. Beacon, I am here to state that the city is in excellent condition. Here are the details, and if we can take a look up there, I'm going to cover 6 topics, starting with financial health. Those of you who know me know that I start on the finance side, because if we can keep our taxes down, we can do a lot of things. We'll go to public safety, infrastructure. There's an immense amount of investment that we're doing in Beacon right now. We'll move to quality of life, climate leadership, and then good government. So let me get started. Let me talk about our financial health. Beacon's financial position is the best in memory. Through my 20-plus years of service to the city as a council member and now as mayor, I have always been the taxpayer's fiscal watchdog, working to limit property tax increases while expanding services and investing in the city's infrastructure. First, I want to touch on new sales tax revenue. Last year, I negotiated a new 10-year sales tax sharing agreement with Dutchess County, which in 2023 alone is providing an additional $1 million in revenue to the city, and which will add $20 million to our budget over 10 years. So to put that into context, $1 million a year is almost 10% of our property taxes. This new revenue increase lets us hold the line on property taxes, add community services, and continue critical capital investments for Beacon's future. So if you see the chart on the top right, that's sales tax revenue by year, and you'll see a dip in the early years. That was the old 10-year agreement with the county, which hit us to the negative of almost $1 million. And then you see 2023 on the far right. That's our first bump, which is going from 4.6 million this year to 5.8. 4.6 last year to 5.8 this year. And that's just the first year. As I said, it's about $20 million over a course of 10 years, more than $1 million in year 1. So that puts us in very good stead. It allows us to do investments to cover additional expenses without asking taxpayers on the property tax to deliver more for them. Lower property tax rates. So the city's property tax rates, that's how much per thousand of assessed value you're charged, are at the lowest levels in at least a decade. It's actually a dozen years. And I'm committed to reducing them further to ensure that increasing property values don't increase your taxes. All right, so that's the chart on the bottom left. In that chart, there's 2 bars, there's 2 lines. The bottom line is the residential tax rate per $1,000 of assessed value. The top line is the commercial rate. So as you can see looking at that chart, the commercial rate is a good 1/3 to sometimes 50% higher than our residential rate. So we have 2 rates in Beacon, a higher one for commercial and apartments and a lower one for residences. That residential one has now dropped to $6.20 per $1,000 of assessed value, and will keep dropping as long as our property values keep rising and we don't raise our taxes too fast. Okay? Third, we have very low or no property tax increases. The mayor's budget for the last 3 years has kept the percentage increase in the city's total property taxes at or below the state tax cap of 2%, which allows us to add for new construction, and I'll talk about that shortly. The mayor, city and finance director, city administrator, and the finance director are committed to continue that trend. The city administrator, trying to keep up with me on sales tax, secured an additional $500,000 in annual water and sewer fees from non-resident users. Those are those trucks you see going up and down 9D that are hauling septage that we take on and charge for, which allows us to keep Beacon's water and sewer rates low. Just again, for context, that $500,000 is close to 10% of our water and sewer bills. Okay, so we're adding a lot there as well to kind of keep our expenses down. We have a great bond rating. Because of our prudent financial investment, Beacon maintains a AA2 Moody's bond rating, which is one of the best of any municipalities in the region, and that allows the city to borrow at lower interest rates. We use that debt, that low interest debt, to invest in our community's future and are far ahead of other communities. We've also added to the tax rolls. In city, we and taxpayers both benefit from additions of more than $115 million in new construction to our assessment rolls in the last 3 years. This new construction has added 2 to 2.5% of new property tax revenue each year without increasing any existing property owner's tax bill, which the city uses to increase services and investment. The bottom right table there lays that out. So in those 3 years, 2021, 22, and 23, the first row is the increase in the total tax levy, meaning the total tax revenue that the city does. So we increase that total property tax bill 2.6%, 4.6%, and 1.7% those 3 years. However, a piece of that is from new construction. So that new construction, so for instance, in 2021, 2.6% was the increase in the total tax that we collected. Of that 2.6, 1.6 came from new construction, which meant that the portion that we're asking existing property owners to pay was only a 1% increase. The second year, also a 1% increase. This year, a 0% increase. Now, that doesn't mean all our property tax bills as residents are at zero. And in fact, a lot of homeowners will see a small increase because of some arcane split in how the commercial rate, that top line on that bottom left chart, and the residential rate vary by state law, which we have no control over. But the good news is, so long as we continue that construction that we've been doing, the city gets the opportunity to increase our tax revenue without taxing our existing property owners. And we're going to keep figuring out how to use that effectively. Lastly, our 5-year capital plan, we developed and passed a full 5-year capital plan, and the first one in several budgets, which helps the city plan out our major investments such as roads, sidewalks, dams, and more. And that's a baseline that we should be doing every year, and you'll be seeing that from us. So second, if you let me move on to public safety. First, just to comment that we are open and helping during COVID. In response to COVID, we work closely with city employees to safely keep open virtually all city services, including all city hall services, as well as our parks and public spaces. The city funded essential community support services, such as food pantry refrigerators, and provided Main Street restaurant seating for 2 seasons. We invested in ambulance services. For the first time ever, the mayor's budget added $200,000. That would be about a 2% tax increase if we hadn't funded it from other sources, to address a local ambulance service crisis. We both contracted for new advanced life support from a service called Ambulance, and are providing support to BVAC, Beacon Volunteer Ambulance Corps, as well. Firefighters, in my first months as mayor, we added 4 full-time career firefighters, and last year we created 4 lieutenant positions, which together ensure that we have round-the-clock coverage and command structure. We are in the process of hiring a new fire chief, and as I'll tell you later and show you a cool picture, we're building a new central fire station. And if you walk across the street, they're doing the demolition right now. Policing review and improvement. In response to the governor's executive order 203, the mayor created a diverse and representative police advisory committee, which produced a police reform plan and continues to review and recommend improvements to the city's policing. We also added mental health, domestic abuse, and addiction help support to policing. The mayor's budget added funding for a full-time mental health caseworker to our police department, which is one of only 2 in the county that have a mental health officer, caseworker. And our program is now a model for other communities. We also added a Help Not Handcuffs program for cases where addiction is involved, and we continue to partner to receive dedicated support for domestic abuse situations. We also added a civilian dispatch to the police department, which frees up officers to be out in the community. Let me just show you where those pictures are. I think if you see them, on the bottom left is Lashavius Dicker. He's our mental health caseworker assigned to the police department. On the top, there's our ambulance coverage, which again we funded. We've got a new rig on the top right with some help from our state assemblyman, so we've got a new fire truck. And then the ones below that are new officers either in the fire department. The fire one is the bottom right, including adding the granddaughter of one of our volunteer fire chiefs and the daughter of one of our fire chiefs. So it's a long-standing family tradition for the ladies. And then the other ones include our new lieutenants and then some of our police hires who are very local and include improvements to our diversity in our workforce. All right, let me keep going. If I can go on to infrastructure investment. Beacon's infrastructure is in the best shape it has been in for decades, and major projects are currently underway. The city of Beacon includes hundreds of millions of dollars in critical infrastructure, approximately 55 miles of roads and sidewalks, as well as underground water, stormwater and sewer pipes, 4 dams, 3 wells, a drinking water treatment plant, a wastewater treatment plant, a highway garage with equipment, parks and rec facilities, fire stations and trucks, police vehicles and equipment, municipal buildings and facilities. As you understand, it's probably $200 million of infrastructure, maybe more. The mayor's budget consistently prioritizes long-term investment in these resources, and the city administrator maximizes other funding sources to modernize city infrastructure without undue tax burden. There are some $40 million in infrastructure projects underway or beginning in 2023. Let me take you through the main ones. First, Main Street, for those everyone knows, for the first time in decades, we completed an end-to-end repaving of Main Street with multiple new pedestrian crossing improvements. As intended, the corner bump outs and the new striping for parking and sidewalks have slowed vehicle speed and improved safety, which is again just what our intent was. Second, we're doing extensive repaving and sidewalks. More than 24 streets were repaved last year alone as part of the city's annual repaving program, along with new sidewalks on South Avenue and more planned this year. On Fishkill and Teller Avenue, this spring we will begin a full rehabilitation of Fishkill and Teller Avenue. The city administrator tells me that we're going out to bid this week. Okay, if things work. And that's going to be from the city limit on Route 52 to George Washington Bust on Teller Avenue, including new sidewalks in the entire distance. It is a $10 million investment, 20 years in the making. Yeah, we started 20 years ago working on it, and now we're getting there, at almost no city cost. So the city portion of it is virtually none. It's because we've secured funding for all the pieces. There's a new central fire station going in, so after 2 decades of study, we've begun renovation and expansion of the Tompkins Hose Fire Station on 9D into a state-of-the-art central fire station while maintaining full firefighting coverage during construction. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Isn't that cool? Right, so this is Tompkins Hose, you know, that kind of beige, gicky building across the street that is going through its removal of hazmat materials. And that's what it's supposed to look like. So there'll be 3 new bays and on the left, and then a rehab of the building. We're also working on dams. We did upgrades of 2 dams. The Pocket Dam and the Mount Beacon Dam are almost complete. Other dams and our wells are slated for improvement. The city continues to invest millions of dollars in city drinking water, sewer and treatment, and stormwater systems. And then finally, last but not least, the two dummies up on the top right in the picture, no, I'm sorry, the dummy light in the top right of the picture was restored and reinstalled by our great highway department staff depicted there. So that's just some of the pieces. If you look at the photos, the Main Street repaving on the left, some of the bump outs as well, the dam improvements, and then also just repaving underneath that. If you could go forward, we'll keep going. So let's go to quality of life. The city has made substantial advances in quality of life initiatives in our community, funded in part from new construction that adds to our property tax base. We continue to implement the city's comprehensive plan, including ensuring Main Street's recovery and long-term success, and increasing affordable units and live-work options. On Main Street, in my first month as mayor, I created an ad hoc committee to look at Main Street improvements, including access, parking, and walkability. Several quick wins, like better parking signs, side street stop signs, pedestrian crossings, and bump outs that slow traffic are already in place. More to come. Parks and Recs investment. We have reopened public bathrooms in our parks for the first time in a generation. The mayor's budget continues to expand recreation and community programs and facilities faster than any other city department, and we recently completed a 1,000 resident survey that will guide future services. Again, more to come. Trees, we included in the budget increased funding for tree and planting and maintenance, and funded local groups like our Green Teens to install pollinator patches at city properties. You can see some of those in the photos. There's Green Street Park in the middle and the right. There's several of our aerials of our parks. There's new sidewalks on South Avenue down on the bottom in the center, and some of the pollinator, nope, these are parks. Pollinators are on another page, I think. So, let's keep going. Rail Trail and Greenway, working with the county and other communities, we are about to begin planning for a new rail trail, which will run from the Beacon train station along Fishkill Creek to Hopewell Junction. We are making progress on the mayor's concept of creating a Greenway loop trail on the east side of Fishkill Creek as well. We successfully relocated the Beacon Farmers Market to a larger location on Main Street. Oh, that's what the top left is. That's the farmers market. Helping to make it one of the Valley's best markets. We launched community investment grant programs to support local nonprofit programs and initiatives, and provided funding and logistical support for food assistance programs during the height of COVID. We've also tightened up some of our zoning. We had focused rezoning efforts to the benefit of the city. On Main Street, the city now requires developers to offer public benefits such as affordable housing or public space in return for a fourth floor in a new development. Along Fishkill Creek and the Hudson, we require 25% commercial space minimums for new construction. And again, the focus here is either on affordable or jobs or open space or public benefits. Short-term rental enforcement. We led the Valley in rezoning that limits short-term rentals, like Airbnb, to owner-occupied only, which will keep apartments for long-term residents. The city is invested in identifying out-of-compliance rentals and launched increased monitoring and enforcement. The mayor's budget added funding for tenant advisory services in partnership with the legal services of the Hudson Valley to help address evictions upon expiration of state and federal programs. Beacon is a leader in affordable housing and is looking for smart ways to do more. Fully 30% of Beacon's rental units are in affordable housing programs. Only the city of Poughkeepsie is higher in the county in that percentage. The city sold the lot next to City Hall, resulting in more than 70 new affordable units, significantly exceeding a county study that set Beacon's annual goal at 5, not 70. And we are exploring additional rezoning and other opportunities this year. And then finally, the city added multiple Main Street properties to our historic property protection zone and defined protected view sheds to preserve critical viewpoints around the city. Now let's talk about quality of life, climate change. So, we as a city and I personally are committed to Beacon becoming the greenest community in the Hudson Valley and a leader in sustainability. And we are doing just that. So first, we have transitioned the entire city government's power to 100% renewable electricity, generated largely from the city's solar farm on our own landfill and augmented by the purchase of renewable energy credits. The city will also be installing a solar array atop the city's highway garage later this year. Our central fire station renovation, the one across the street at Tompkins Hose, will be 100% all electric with geothermal heat pumps from underground wells in the repaved parking lot. We will do the same for other city facilities on a cost-effective basis. We started a green fleet policy for the city, and we've now added both all-electric and hybrid electric city vehicles, replacing the most heavily used vehicles first and looking to add more over time. EV charging stations, we've installed electric vehicle charging stations at multiple city lots and will be adding more at City Hall and the new central fire station. Dance camera plant. So I personally drafted and frequently testified the city's opposition to a new gas-fired power plant at the Dance Camera facility, which is across the river and visible from Seeger Riverfront Park. I repeatedly testified as mayor at public hearings in opposition. The plant was denied permits to move forward. Earlier achievement of the New York State climate goals is one of our goals. So with the City Council, we set a goal of achieving the New York State's aggressive climate goals sooner than the rest of the state and are on track to do that. More to come. We were one of the first communities in the state to add a climate smart coordinator, who works with the mayor, administrator, and our Conservation Advisory Committee to achieve our climate and other goals. We achieved silver status in 2000, one of the only 2 cities to achieve silver status as a climate smart community in New York, the highest designation at the time. And then last year, the city piloted a municipal composting program with both central drop-off locations and backyard compost bins, which composted more than 20,000 pounds of waste and is expanding this year. Finally, let's see what we got for pictures. Anything good? Can you back up, Ben? So green team is over here, recycling on the bottom right and composting top left, and some electric vehicles in the top center. Okay. Oh, that's our solar grid in the middle, in case you were wondering. All right, let's go on to good government. So Beacon's city charter created a part-time mayor and a full-time qualified city administrator. I believe taxpayers and employees deserve a professionally run city, one that uses taxpayer funds effectively, that empowers department managers, and that develops our employees. Some of the things that we've done: our city administrator negotiated fair multi-year agreements with all 3 city unions, providing predictability of cost and lower legal expense. The mayor's I had a proclamation that recognized Juneteenth as an official city holiday, and it is now included as a paid holiday for all of our employees. We hired the first human resources director for the city to effectively support our 130 full-time employees plus seasonal and part-time workforce. As mayor, I have focused on successfully attracting and hiring a core team of well-trained managers, including our city administrator and our HR director. And with their help, we've hired many new department heads, including a new police chief, a new wastewater treatment plant operator, a new building inspector, and soon a new fire chief. Not only do we do our hires at the top, we also increase our diversity in all of our hires. Our new city employees, including both police and fire departments, continue to become more diverse and representative of our community while making us all safer and delivering outstanding services. And then finally, let's just talk about our website. During COVID, the city began accepting online water and tax bills while keeping our City Hall payment window open. We expect electronic billing and more over time. We also consolidated previous department websites into a new central website, www.beaconny.gov. In closing, as I said at the outset, the state of the city is excellent. I am proud of the work that we have accomplished together as a community. There's a lot that I put in this. There's a lot more that we didn't, We try to prioritize, and we try to do our best to do the most important things. We don't get to them all. We have to say no to some things. But there's a lot on the table here. Of course, there is more to do, but let's take a moment to appreciate what has been done. I want to thank the City Council for, we work together. I am a single vote, and we get, 6 and 7 of us, hopefully, most of the time. The employees of the city, including our department heads, our city administrator, Chris White, and others who make it all happen, as well as the residents who volunteer their time for the city and the community in a myriad of ways. I love Beacon. It has been my deep commitment of community service across 4 decades. It is an honor to serve you as mayor.